I'm pleased to sponsor the Alternative Interview.
And that was one of the most amazing feelings, wasn't it, when Gary Abbott scored that goal? And the crowd that night were unbelievable, wasn't it? It was just Superb. A fantastic atmosphere.
It was magnificent. We had, 4,000, 5,000 there? And when Gary scored, funny enough, I've still got the tapes and the goals, and I still watch them till this day. And people hear me shouting because, I can't believe it. I know a goal's going to come, but I can't help it. It's the excitement. An amazing night, a great night.
And we had, I did Terry Brown and Stuart Cash a few weeks ago, and we were talking to Stuart about that game as well. And he was talking about afterwards in the dressing room with Steve McGrath and the fireworks and went off. But, probably was the reason why we never played there the following season when we got the final.
Yeah, that was a shocker, wasn't it? They've gone play at Basingstoke on their tip. Amazing. Nothing but mud, wasn't it, that night? Mind you, we managed to win 9-0, so amazing.
So that's a great way to finish your second season. So you've won a league, now you've won 2 cups. And all the shots hadn't won a cup. We'd never won a cup up until that season. So that was a special season. So you go into the next season, 99-2000, and you bring in players, got Mark Bentley, Richard Gell, and you brought in Andy Pape as well. And you'd had Gary Phillips before as well. So is there a tendency for you to rather go with experienced goalkeepers than a younger keeper?
Not necessarily, Graham. It's the case of, Andy Pape, I knew was a great goalkeeper. His angles were superb. He did like a pound note, mind. But he was just a great goalkeeper, and he give you your back four so much confidence that he was ideal for me. Really was.
Gary Phillips, the year before, when he spent 2 years with you, won the league and the 2 cups as well, and good steady goalkeeper with that experience as well.
Yeah, without a doubt, mate. Two top goalkeepers we was fortunate to have at the club, under my leadership, which, Gary Phillips, outstanding goalkeeper.
So you get that season together, and just further on from there, Grant Payne comes, and at the time his £20,000 signing, record signing. We scored 7 goals in his first 2 games, and it looked like it was going to be a bit of a dream signing. And with injury in it, it didn't happen for him, did it? But that's one of those stories that could have been so much different.
Yeah, but I think, Graham, I'm a little bit to blame on that. I took my foot off the gas with Grant. He was a good goal scorer, but I never looked into the injury that he had. Had I known he had that injury, I wouldn't have signed him. But unfortunately, I was so chuffed to getting him in because of his record and everything else. Everything else went out the window, and I let myself and the football club down a little bit with that one.
I suppose things have moved on, haven't they, in terms of how you look at players. I mean, if players sign now and you're paying good money in that, they have a real once-over, don't they, before you...
Yeah, they do now, mate.
And even in 20 years, a lot of that's changed, hasn't it, from what you would have had available then to what you have available now.
Without a doubt. Yeah, everyone has a medical now, Graham, and it would have been ideal if those were in place at the time, but they wasn't. And, it's a non-league player and you sign him because of his record.
So, in that season, the FA Cup took over a little bit because we had... I can remember me and you going down to Lymington and New Milton to have a look at their pitch and their arrangements and that. We got in the 4th qualifying round, and everything they said they were going to do, they didn't. And then on the day, all the fans were squashed around. But we won the game, so that was good. And then we had Hensford in the first round and drew at our place. But then, and another special night on a Monday night up in Hensford. And I think it was Gary Abbott, Jason Chewins, I think he might have scored. But we won 2-1. Up at Hensford. What a special night that was.
Great night, Graham. We and they were a good side at the time as well, and it was always a tough place to go. But like you said, we put in a great shift that night and got the result. So fair play to everybody at the club.
And then it went to Exeter and Exeter City.
Yeah.
And what do you remember about that and the build up, the overnight stay there, and then on the day, and then it all went pear shaped with the crowd and
yeah.
I mean, it just was a disaster in the end, wasn't it? The game had to be stopped.
And I think that's what ruins it, really. You know, when you have the support like you do at Aldershot, and that's another thing that managers have to deal with. You know, like you go into Exeter, you would expect them to be professional, expect them to do, you know, the right things and so on, knowing that Aldershot are going to bring a lot of people. And, you know, it never happened. And, you know, we ended up, you know, suffering a little bit because we just want to get on with the game, and, you know, a big game for us, and, you know, all the excitement was taken away.
So one memorable game in that season, and you talked about it a little bit earlier on, was that Boxing Day game or Christmas game against Farnborough.
Yeah.
5,500 at the Rec for that game, and Owen Cole coming up with a winner, 1-0 win.
Yeah.
And they're the games that there was a rivalry with Farnborough at that time. It's not so much now. It's different circumstances. But at that time, Aldershot had pushed their way up through the pyramid, and Farnborough had always been a steady old conference side, and they were in the Isthmian League all of a sudden. And you know, there was a rivalry. There's no question about it. So it was great to win that game.
Oh, brilliant, mate! And it's, you know, this festive year as well. You know, Christmas time, which is, you know, everyone's had a few drinks and everything. Everyone's looking for their big game, and it's against your local rivals, and, you know, and to put in a performance again, which we did, was amazing. And, you know, I think Graham Wesley was manager at the time, and we beat him 1-0, and it's a nice feeling to you know, to beat the team that's closest to you, and it just makes the Christmas better.
But in that league that season, finished second behind Dagenham and Redbridge. They walked away with the league that year. They did really well. But as I have this conversation with a number of people, you didn't have playoffs in those days. And, you know, when I spoke to Terry and Stuart about their time at Wimbledon, they were saying they got promotion a couple of times through the playoffs when they were at Wimbledon.
Yeah.
And, you know, yourself as a manager, you would have fancied yourself against anybody in a knockout playoff competition against anybody, I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely, Graham. Yeah, definitely. You know, it's one goes up and then the next four play for the second spot. Absolutely. It gives you a little break, regroup, and see who you're playing against, and, you know, get your knowledge around it and say, yeah, we got a chance there. Definitely. Good thing, the playoffs.
Certainly are. And you're not a manager who really cares how you get rid of a player, are you? If you've got a player there who doesn't figure in your plans anymore, you weren't backward in knowing how to deal with getting rid of players.
What's the point of pussyfooting around people, Graham? You know, you bring a player in, he doesn't do it for you, he's getting paid. You're the manager who has to make a decision, and you're the manager who's got the gun pointed at his head to make sure that you make the right decisions for that football club. And it always gives me great strength to say to a player, listen, you're not performed. You're not doing it. And, you know, it doesn't mean you're a bad player, because there's other managers that you'll go and play for who think you're great. At this present time, you're just not good enough for me at Aldershot Town. And 9 out of 10 players were brilliant with me, Graham, because I was upfront and honest with them. So if you get a nasty player who wants to be, you know, a little bit duck and dive, wants his money and wants to drag his feet, then he's messing with the wrong person, because he'll drag his feet underneath my car, because there's no way in a million years that, you know, he'll be screaming to get out of the club after I've finished with him, because I don't like that. Don't abuse the football club. It's as simple as that. And
we're going to talk about one incident now, because there was a player that you got a private detective out on.
Yeah.
And it's a funny story, so it's got to be told. It's got to be told. And you know, this player played hard to get. He thought he was going to be hanging around, but you got the better of this one.
Well, Cashy was saying he's a great centre half, Andy Pearce. Great centre half, mate. Oh, he'll be great. He'll be great. Signed him. Give him a bit of signing on fee. And, you know, obviously, then he started playing up. He didn't want to come training. It was too far, this, that and the other. And then he rang me and said he's not coming in this week because he's ill. So I got a private eye on him. And there he is on the building site, mucking up sand and cement and doing his job. I had the pictures, but I didn't have the video. So I remember going into my daughter's room, Charlotte, and saying, Charlotte, what nice video you got? And she said, oh, Dad, I got Barney. So I said, that'll do. So I got the Barney video and I stuck over the top. Got it done professionally, of course. Andy Pearce at work with the dates. And we sat there and I give him all the, you know, because he was on a lot of money. Plus he got £3,000 signing on fee, which I managed to get the paperwork that he had still in his bag that had to be signed, and the check was there as well. So I tore that up and said, well, you ain't getting that either because you're a sneak. And then we're sitting there, and I remember his agent or whatever it was, the FIFA guy, I said, listen, if you want to sit here and we'll watch the video, and if we watch it, we're going to watch it for the lot, 45 minutes of it. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, if he says, yeah, I've got to put Barney on. And say, well, that was Steve. That was Andy when he was dressed up, you know. But thankfully they said, no, the pictures are enough. And we got rid of him scot-free. So, yeah, there's ways and means, Graham. I'm not, you know, over the moon when I do things like that. But, you know, if you're going to play the game, then I'll certainly match you with it.
I can often remember on Thursday nights, I'd be next door with all the paperwork and you would be in there. And if there was a player there that didn't figure in your plans, and then you'd have them there, and then they would come next to me. And there'd be players there who wanted to stay, but, you know, the decision had been made, you'd have the chat, and that was it. And some of those players now, you know, if ever I speak to them, they say they were George Borg, and that was it. They were George Borg, and then you know, you didn't want them, and they weren't in your plans, and that was it.
Yeah, and I had the utmost respect for them, Graham, as much as they had for me, because I didn't treat them badly. Like I said, you do get, you know, the one or two bad penny, and you got to deal with them accordingly. And we did that, and I've always done that in my career. So, you know, I've got a lot of friends, more so than, you know, enemies.
Do you have any thoughts, or any? There'll be some players who would have a grievance against you. Would that bother you? You know, now, or would you?
Only Mark Pye. I mean, people don't know the true story about Mark Pye. I mean, Mark wanted to go into get the knowledge to be a cab driver, and he needed another contract. And back in them days, I think Mark was on about £200 a week, and he needed that. And I said to him, Mark, you've started 13 games, you've been sub for a few and injured. I just can't afford to keep you. You know, I can't. I'm really sorry. I've played for you at Enfield, I played for you at Arabara. You know, you're mugging me off. And as you remember, we went to Araborough, and as we're coming off the pitch, may I just tell people that he just caught the top of my peanut, but he didn't actually damage me in the way that it was all Paul trade. I don't know where that came out. I think Cashy was making up his stories again. No, he wasn't. But it all bloke out, and we just went with it, and that was it, mate. But that was the only one. But I have to be professional, no matter whether I'm professional or not round a dugout. It don't mean jack to me. It's just a case of being professional with any club that I work for.
And I've got another one here, actually. This isn't a player thing. This is quite funny. Sadly, he passed away as well a few years ago, Alan McCreaney. But do you remember the game at Gravesend and Northfleet when they had the commotion on the pitch? And he knocked out one of the Gravesend players. Yeah,
that was a Spiller. I was on the phone to him, and in the end, I had to say to him, listen, you don't really want to mess with these people. I said, because you don't know Alan McCreaney's people, and if you do, they'll come and hunt you down. They'll cut your legs off. That's the only way I could get through to him, because he was adamant, and his dad was adamant that Alan McCreaney's going to get done for assault big time. And his job was at stake because he's a prison officer. And I remember making the phone calls the following day, but I've got to just tell you, when I went out to the dressing room and I saw him, got Alan and got him in handcuffs and his little face in the back of the van. And there's me going, I'll do my best. I'll do my best to get you out of jail. And his little face was going. But anyway, we managed to do it and we got him back safely, and bless him. You know, it's a shame when I heard the news about him. Great man, funny
he
man.
Was. Yeah, he absolutely was. And another game against Woking in the FA Trophy in that season. And the one that's always remembered, of course, is for Jimmy Segrew's involvement with the, whether it was a flying headbutt or flying karate kick or whatever it was, but he got sent off and there was never going to be any doubt. But the one thing that made me laugh about that is that me, you and Stuart had to go up to the FA, to Lancaster Gate as it was in those days. And bearing in mind, we probably instigated all of what had happened. We both got a £1,000 fine. So I'm thinking, I'm pretty happy with that. Phil Ledger, the Woking secretary, who I liked Phil, he was a good man. And he was saying, what is going on? How the hell we got £1,000? We didn't do anything. Yeah. And then me, you and Stuart went outside, and Stuart went to get his car and it had been clamped.
Did we just get him Marco and go, see you later, Stu? All the best, son. Oh, that was brilliant. I remember that day. That was great. Don't leave me. Oh, God. Oh, brilliant days, mate. Brilliant days.
So you went that season with, as you said earlier, beat Andover 9-1 in the Hampshire Senior Cup final. It was at Basingstoke. And I think Gary Abbott scored 5, and I think Mark Bentley got a hat-trick. And Junior Harvey was the other guy who scored. He was there for a little while. So a nice way to finish the season.
It was, Graham, you know, just to have a bit of... But I knew the pressure was going to be on for the following season because Aldershot wanted to win the league. And that was going to be... And it put me under a lot of pressure. And to be honest with you, I didn't make the right signings. And in the end, as you well know, it cost me my job. You know, I got done what I had to do, and it didn't cost the club, and it didn't bankrupt the club, which I was in a position to do. And the worst things that I ever did in non-league football was to go full time. I would never, if I could turn the clock back, I would have just stayed in the jobs that I was doing, because then the pressure wouldn't have been so high.